Has CGI made acting in films worse? It's a question I ask since we used to have scenes like this.
Did you order the code red?
I did the job.
Did you order the code red?
You're goddamn right I did!
And now we have scenes like this.
And flick. Flick too hard, damn it!
Keep in mind, these older movies costed way less to make. And also were just closer to the creation of film of itself than these newer movies. So if anything, the talent should be getting better as the craft of acting is around longer, not getting worse. So is it the CGI or something else entirely? I'll try to answer these questions in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so CGI, or computer-generated images. It was first used in the movie Westworld, back in 1973. It gave us the perspective of a robot character. Now, while back in 1958, Vertigo technically did put computer-generated images in their opening credits, Westworld was the first film to actually implement it into a scene of their movie. From there, we wind down a long creative path of generating killer robots, superheroes, dinosaurs, aliens, talking animals, to entire worlds of computer-generated images and animation. But as my original question stated, has it made acting worse? Well, an easy way to see if that's the case is to look at two series that have both dealt very heavily in CGI and also haven't. The Lord of the Rings Hobbit series and Star Wars. In each case, both are a part of the same universe. Both also have some overlapping characters that are fan favorites. And both went through the same story of the original trilogy not using a lot of CGI, while the later trilogy dealt a lot in it. Interestingly, the reason for the heavy reliance on CGI in The Hobbit and the prequel series were for slightly different reasons. The Hobbit was mostly due to time and a little bit too much ambition. Guillermo del Toro was originally supposed to be the director of the films, but after several delays, Peter Jackson, the director of the original Lord of the Rings, took over. But by this point, a lot of time had been eaten up on changing the scripts to fit more of Jackson's vision. Not to mention the decision to have a 2-camera 3D setup instead of 3D conversion, and to make use of high frame rates. All of that meant that the creation of miniature sets, makeup, and forced camera angles would look less seamless on this sharper display, therefore forcing CGI to play a heavy part. For Star Wars though, the use of CGI was mostly due to money. Fox had financed the original 3 movies. Meanwhile, George Lucas went independent for the prequels, being forced to fund the entire trilogy himself. So naturally, his pockets didn't run quite as deep as Fox, and he tried to cut costs as much as possible. But in either case, we ended up with a very similar result of fans not enjoying the movies as much as the originals. Why? Now, a part of it could just be the specific fans at the time that were exposed to the later movies. They held a nostalgia for the original that they felt wasn't there with the later movies. Especially with Star Wars. I mean, Hayden Christensen got such hate back when the movies came out, compared to now, where people were so hyped for him to come back in the Obi-Wan and Ahsoka shows. Me included, by the way. But aside from that, the main complaint was really just how heavy-handed the CGI was. How everything felt a little too polished, and even a little flat acting-wise. Which makes sense, given the fact that actors had very little to work with behind the scenes. Take, for instance, Ian McKellen, who genuinely started to cry on set over the isolation he had to deal with. He said, quote, "It was so distracting and off-putting and difficult that I thought, I don't want to make this film if this is what I'm gonna have to do. This is not what I do for a living. I act with other people. I don't act on my own." End quote. A similar thing happened with Ewan McGregor. Not crying on set, but he did end up admitting in one interview that, quote, Because director George Lucas loves technology and loves pushing into that realm, as a result, the final movie in the trilogy, Revenge of the Sith, featured little in the way of practical scenery. After 3 or 4 months of that, it just gets really tedious, especially when the scenes are, I don't want to be rude, but it's not Shakespeare. There's not something to dig into in the dialogue that can satisfy you when there's no environment there. It was quite hard to do, end quote. So, as we can see, it was clearly harder on these actors to perform under the pressures of green screen and the lack of environment or even people, causing their drive to do their job and overall performance to be lower than usual, since they had no idea what they were going to react to. And yet, not every movie has suffered under such constraints. Older Marvel movies, certain DC films, and even Avatar are all examples of heavy use of CGI, Avatar being the biggest. Now, I'll put it out there and say this. I don't think Avatar's best aspect is the acting. Obviously, it's the special effects, the world building, the characters, and the amount of stunt work between the flying, swimming, and fighting. But I'd argue that these actors had a lot more thrown at them than the people working on The Hobbit or Star Wars prequels and still came out on top, now doing a 4-movie series. And I think a huge part of this is training. The Avatar cast didn't just show up and read lines. They were trained to swim, freedive, speak the Na'vi language, and move like entirely different beings. That dedication pays off on screen. You believe them, even if the world around them is completely digital. And that kind of prep isn't new. Back in the old Superman movies, Christopher Reeve trained in hang gliding just to make his body language look natural while on wires, so when you saw him quote-unquote fly, it actually felt real. That's effort, that's commitment. Because especially in Avatar 2, there was very little they could make set-wise. Sure, there were props and markers, but these people were acting in skin-tight outfits, headsets, and dots on their faces all day. Not to mention swimming too, and still managed to deliver their lines in a way where I don't feel like I'm watching pure stupidity. So what gives? Why is it that in some movies the CGI doesn't seem to make the acting performance worse, while in others it does? The answer? Good acting isn't just the actor's delivery, it's a combination of everything else. I think something people often forget is that lines aren't written by the actor, but by, well, script writers. So if someone has a good comeback in a movie, or a long string of sentences that just send a chill down your spine, that's not the actors doing, but the writers. That's part of the reason why A Few Good Men has so many hard-hitting scenes. The word choices are just on point. So is the sound design, believe it or not. In angry or high-stress emotional scenes, there are usually 2 ways you can go about it. Heavy dramatic music, or just dead silence. Dramatic music is usually better for long, angry monologues right before the villain is about to stab you or something. It exudes power, an epic lead-up that the villain and consequently the viewer have been waiting for all this time. However, if you actually want a more hard-hitting delivery in an argumentative scene, it's better to have no music at all. It produces this stillness that hits you right in your chest, making your mind linger on the last words spoken instead of making you look for what's going to happen next. I mean, just changing the music of this scene and it feels totally different. Check it out.
Lieutenant Kendrick ordered the code red, didn't he? Because that's what you told Lieutenant Kendrick to do.
Object! And when it went bad, you cut these guys loose! Your Honor, you had markers inside a phony transport! Your Honor, you doctored the logbook! Damn it, Captain! You coerced the doctor!
Consider yourself in contempt!
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red?
Yeah, kinda zaps any kind of seriousness out of the scene, right? Just makes you want to laugh. So, getting back to CGI, I'd like to think that at this point, we can establish that it's not just CGI that's causing movie quality to go downhill. While I do think it plays a part, there are just other things about newer movies and shows that are causing problems. For one, lack of respect for original material. Using How to Train Your Dragon live action as an example, Hiccup was great. Astrid just needed a blonde wig and the spikes on her skirt, while the rest of the kids didn't really look like much of what we had in the original animation. It was like they didn't even bother to try and just grabbed the first actors that wanted to do the movie. Same kind of thing sort of with Percy Jackson, the new Fantastic Four show. I could say more, but you get my point. The second problem is over-reliance on franchise fatigue. Studios keep pumping out sequels, spin-offs, and reboots, not because they have something new to say, but because they think nostalgia alone will carry it. And sure, it works for a while, until it doesn't anymore though. Number 3, actors aren't the focus anymore. Some of the biggest blockbusters today aren't built around characters and these small, intimate worlds. They're built around these huge, fantastical fights. So therefore, studios care more about the climactic third act explosion than whether the dialogue in the first 2 acts feel authentic. And then finally, number 4, directors don't always know how to work with CGI. Some directors just aren't used to planning for actors in a green screen box. They don't rehearse enough, they don't give the actors anything to react to, or any kind of training to help them at least understand their characters better. So the performance comes out as stiff, not because the actors are bad, but because the process didn't support them. So that's why people like Tom Cruise are so successful. Yeah, his movies are packed with explosions and CGI, but they also have real emotion, genuine chemistry, and moments of levity and humor. The guy literally straps himself to a plane, but he also makes you laugh and feel something while doing it. It's not just stunts, it's storytelling. And that includes great set design too. Remember the Chronicles of Narnia? They literally constructed a river and built a fully functioning ship on hydraulic systems. Both, mind you, scenes that had CGI involved as well, but it was just the genuine desire to make it as real as possible that helped the actors sell the scene. So the truth is, acting is still alive and well when it's supported. Look at Dune or The Batman, both recent movies that use CGI and have powerful acting. What's the difference? The filmmakers treat CGI as a tool, not a crutch. So has CGI made acting worse? Not really. It's just that when filmmakers lean on CGI too much, when they really don't have to, and they stop prioritizing script, direction, and good old-fashioned human connection, that's when acting looks worse. It's like using auto-tune in music. It's not inherently bad, but if you rely on it to replace skill instead of enhancing it, that's when it becomes noticeable. And in movies, when everything is fake and half done, even the good performances start to feel fake too. But anyway, what do you think? Is it really CGI's fault that movies are doing so much worse now? Or is it really a much bigger problem than that? Let me know in the comments. And if you liked this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye!